What would happen if Karl Marx rose from the dead and woke up in modern-day London? Would he recognize the city where he lived in exile? It may be a dream destination for well-heeled tourists, but with all its luxury shops and flats, it's a nightmare for the working classes. Could Marx afford to live in the inner city? Absolutely not. He'd likely wind up sleeping in a phone booth. So what would Marx have to say today? Exploitation, commodity fetishism, and the power of money. Which of his theories are still relevant? At Piccadilly Circus, I meet Marx researcher Lucia Padilla. She came to London a decade ago to study Marx's writings in the libraries where he once read and conducted research. Padilla takes us on a walking tour through Soho, the area where Marx once lived. Our first stop, Performa Red Lion pub, birthplace of a communist manifesto. Today it's a cocktail lounge. Would Marx be shocked? Surely. He would be surprised to see Soho today, because at this time it was really different. It was a very poor area and a lot of German and other European refugees actually lived there, but I don't think it would be surprised to see capitalism today. I think that actually he predicted many of the processes that we are witnessing today, from the kind of globalization of a production and trade in crack, increasing migration and internationalization not only of capital but of the working class. Karl Marx himself has become a product marketed around the globe. There's even a hair salon in Chinatown named after him. Well, I guess even philosophers have to get a haircut sometimes. This is Dean Street, where Marx lived with his wife Jenny and their children in a two-room flat. They barely had enough money for rent and food. 3 of their children died during their time in Soho. Marx knew about the daily struggle for survival in his day. People were literally worked to death in factories. That still happens today in places like China and Bangladesh, but in Europe too. Exploitation remains common and has got worse in the wake of the economic crisis. The crisis has led to increasing exploitation because one of the effects of the crisis hasn't been just like cutting social services law, lowering wages and so on, but also lengthening of the working time, working hours. The number of people that work more than 48 hours a week has increased by millions. Yes, after the crisis, when we talk about exploitation, we have to talk about working conditions of Chinese workers and Bangladesh seamstresses. If we look at the struggles of workers at Foxconn in China who protested against the inhuman conditions in the factories, they actually kind of make these relations that are behind our commodities visible. But if we go to an Apple store here, probably people in retail are also low paid and overworked, so the awareness can actually link together people from different parts of the world. I don't think it's something that concerns only countries in the South. I think it's a kind of globalized experience that actually Marx predicted. Lucia Padilla believes in a communist ideal of international solidarity and the power of the collective, but are we really ready to do without, to consume less so others have more from life? I'm on my way to the south of London to meet Nina Power. She's a renowned expert on Marx and a staunch feminist. What would Marx have to say about the gender pay gap and gender inequality? Why are men still paid more than women for the same work? Patriarchy and capitalism are a very happy fit. They love each other, and actually what capitalism does is to reinforce the differences between men and women and to treat women as property on the basis of their capacity to reproduce, and both Engels and Marx recognized this. Let's take a look into the future world where there's artificial intelligence doing alienated labor for us. Could it be there won't be such a thing as a working class anymore? We are not yet at a point at which we would say that robots can look after our babies, or that we should be like employing robots to take care of our older people's loneliness. You know, they have tried these things in parts of the world, like sofa in Japan for example. There might be a distraction, but there is no replacement for human contact. On the one hand, I'd be quite happy if women and men didn't have to sell sex, and if we could replace it with sex robots or something like that, and if you could generate an AI that did the job like that, would be better in the sense that fewer human beings would be treated badly. But at the same time, I'm not sure this is like what we should be aiming for. If it can help us be more together and more solidarity and help each other, fine. Karl Marx lies buried in Highgate Cemetery. Marx is dead. Long live Marx. We need visionary thinkers like him more than ever, as the problems of exploitation, poverty and inequality remain unsolved. Karl Marx outlined a vision of a better world, but it's up to us to create it.